Jeff Mendez, welcome to the show. It's a pleasure having you here, man. Seriously.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me. Glad
Uh,
to be here.
yeah, we were just at my buddy Gage Ewer's event, and I've I've had this guy on my top 3 for mentors for a while now. And Jeff is unique in his experience doing business at scale, specifically with sales. So right in my niche with my audience, and but specifically with door to door, you're one of the best that I've been able to get to know. And so it is a huge privilege for me. And I was telling you before the show, there's 2 routes I could take this show. One is for my audience, like generalized question I think would be good. And then one is what's best for me.
For sure.
And I'm doing the selfish route on this one.
By default, it's going to be what's best for your audience.
Yeah.
And that's how it should be.
Yeah. So,
for me, the shows that are rehearsed and, premeditated are the ones that don't really hit.
Yeah.
I like it when it's authentic, it's real. That's where the real stuff comes through.
I love it. So we were talking about my business, Sparta Solar, based out in Utah. We've dialed in a lot of the leadership here, the system structure, culture. It's gotten a lot better. And we've been through a lot of different adversity, good and bad. And now, I was talking to you about scaling and expanding the company, and how we failed going to Arizona, California, and some of these leaders, I recognize patterns. They didn't have the same conviction in solar, and there's other things as well. But when it comes to expansion, generally speaking, what has to be true inside my org before I expand to other markets?
The chokehold of your business, it's the psychology or lack thereof of your business leadership. So it's people first. It's got to be the leader. It's not solar. It's not the tax credits. It's not the BBB. It's, do I have that right person in charge that can actually command that market? And can I keep doing what's required of me at HQ? And can that individual or individuals in California, Arizona, wherever, can they go handle all the recruiting, the training, the market expansion? Can they deal with all the headaches? Can they deal with everything that's going to come their way? Being a leader, it's escaping 1,000+ deaths. Are they vetted? Are they going to be battle tested? Can they do the knife fight? So you just have to know that who you have is ready and equipped to be able to expand with you. That way you can multiply Sparta, and then until you're there, you're going to have that limitation. Again, it's the chokehold of a business.
Yeah.
You referenced Vivint. I was at Vivint for many, many years. By the time my non-compete ran out, I would have been there 18 years, 13 active, 5 years with a non-compete where I couldn't get back in the game. And what made us different wasn't the panel. It wasn't the sensors. It wasn't the cameras.
Yeah,
it was the people. It was the leadership. It was the grit. It was the grind. It was the no nonsense mentality. It was, we don't quit when we're tired. We quit when we're done, and we just get the job done, and we anticipate and we plan and we execute, and whatever we touch, we know it's going to work because that's who we are. That's what we believe in. And that's what leaders do. That's what CEOs do. The CEO, you're a chief evangelist officer.
Yeah.
You have 2 main jobs: culture creation, culture maintenance.
Yep.
So it's that. When you're expanding, it's all leadership. It's the soft skills. The IQ stuff, I don't even call them hard skills anymore, but that stuff, it's all commonplace, especially with the advent of AI. It's, do I have high EQ individuals that can help me expand the firm? And can they represent Spartan, California better than the way we're represented at HQ? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Now, if you're in my position, would you seek to build from within out of Utah and then send out?
Yes.
Now, here's the hard part is when I build here in Utah with these leaders, it's like injecting them with a drug, like a lot of dopamine. Sure. I'm creating stability, leads, systems, everything, high amount of cash and training, structure, growth. And then most of them have a lifestyle here.
Sure.
And they don't want to leave the lifestyle to go to California or some other state. And so I've been trying to, instead of swim upstream, try to,
hold on. That could be a limiting self-belief that you have.
Correct.
There's plenty of people that are looking for opportunities, and plenty of people in this state in Utah that will take whatever it is that you're giving them here at HQ, and then they want to be that guy to be able to provide that for other people in California. So I did a big decentralization project at Vivint, and that's how Vivint now has expanded to multiple states. I told them, here in Utah, you're one of many. And everybody here is enamored with Todd Peterson. Everybody wants to sit in his office.
Exactly.
How about you become the Todd Peterson of Dallas? How about you become the Todd Peterson of Miami, of Tampa,
That's good.
etc. It's just that's how you grow. Everybody wants to be the guy. There's two main human needs. People want to be seen, they want to be heard.
Yes.
What better opportunity for them to get out of Nick's wing and go become Nick in a different state? And then you have to be even that much more sophisticated by being able to provide all those tools, all those resources to somebody that's not in that near exact proximity.
Let's talk. That's brilliant, Jeff. That's really good. This has been a bottleneck is we've seen the teams that have,
and again, it's limiting self-belief.
You're spot on. It's interesting. We have, case study to amplify what you're talking about. We got a Lehigh office that gets more proximity to me in our Ogden office. Mm-hmm. Guess which one has performed better, grown better? Well, no, actually.
Should be Lehigh.
It should be Lehigh.
Because they have to prove themselves.
Correct.
They can't.
Now, the Lehigh didn't grow as much as me because of me.
And let me elaborate. So you said that. So outside of Utah, there's a big organization. I don't know if you've heard the name Neil Rogers out in Florida.
Okay.
And he actually grew bigger, or was on a trajectory to grow bigger than our Utah operations. Because again, he was able to become the guy outside, and it was up to him. If not me, who? Like, if I don't do this, nobody else is going to do it.
So how did you and Todd find a guy like that and build him in?
Well,
did he
Neil
come
was
out of
one
Utah?
One. He built himself. But then we took a lot of what we saw there, those behavioral economics, and then we you can decipher who has that same type of DNA, and then help those guys promote. And you're patient with the process. The twin killers of success from patience and greed. I mentioned that at Gage's event. Jim Rohn gets credited for that quote. But
Love
you
Jim.
put people in these scenarios where they can prove themselves, and then as they grow and over time, it just becomes something that you can't stop, right? But sometimes you want to see it in year 1, year 2. But if you're patient with the law of the harvest, it'll take effect. Give these guys 3 years of runway, 4 years of runway, and it's crazy what happens. So I was talking, I don't know if you know the name Kenny Cox.
Yeah.
So I was talking to Kenny, and I think he has, the number could be maybe 5% of it. He's a Utah guy. He lives in Midway, Heber area. He either has, it's between 0 and 5% of Utah production, meaning he has 0 to 5% of his assets, his human assets, and he does thousands and thousands of accounts. I want to say 25, 30,000 accounts every year. And 0 to 5% of those accounts happen from Utah-based homegrown assets. The rest is all decentralized. And that wasn't the case, call it 5 years ago.
Interesting.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
And then what happens is, now that you don't have all these recruiters recruiting these human resources here in the mecca of door-to-door. So now you're more insulated.
Yes.
And you have these recruiting centers. Yep. And now you're recruiting a cohort that is not necessarily, they don't think they're God's gift to mankind, meaning they're grateful for 20 grand a year. They're grateful for 30 grand a year.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Here in the mecca, quite often, at least when I was still in the game, you'd have this rookie kid that says, yeah, I need a signing bonus for $100,000. Yeah. That doesn't exist outside of here.
Yeah.
So all those little pros that come with the territory.
100%. I love that. Okay, if you were me and you're trying to decentralize and expand, how would you operate in your first 30 days? Like, what would be your first couple moves?
Watching my people and having an inventory of who could be that person to be my tip of the spear, if you will.
Let's define that person then.
Yeah.
Because you're mentioning this DNA. What
lead from the front, responsible. I don't need to call him in the morning or text I have a guy. Well, I want to keep names away, but I have a guy in my business, really good friend of mine. We've known each other since 2004. He's in my real estate firm.
Okay.
I recruited him maybe 3 or 4 months ago. I hang out. We're in the same office. I hang out with him less now than I did before he worked with me, because he's so relentless in the pursuit of success. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, I want somebody like that. I want somebody that's like, holy cow, this guy is just nonstop, versus having to nudge him
Yeah.
or use the stick, right?
So
That's what I look for.
one of my limiting beliefs, I'll say, is those guys that are relentless, that are hungry like that, they're all running their own business.
It's a limiting self-belief.
I know it is. So sell me.
And I've always been really good at finding people better than me because I'm not scared. Like I want people to be, and people know that. I want people around me to be better, and I'll tell them, hey, you're way better at me than this. I know that I'm not all things to all people. I know what I'm really good at, and I know where I need to delegate, and I know where I need help. And I'm very open with that. And I think that helps me create really good teams, and it helps me produce really good leaders around me. Yeah, if you don't need to be the guy, you will find guys that will be around you that will be like the friend I just mentioned.
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then, I'm always looking at what I'm saying in my head. If you get in your head, you're dead. And unpacking what is a limiting self-belief that I allowed in my DNA, and what is something that is true.
Yeah,
right?
Because it's a lie. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, there's a lot of lies that you're being told. There's a lot of limiting self-beliefs that you believe in currently.
Yeah.
What I would do is make a list of
Put out in front of
all the limiting self-beliefs that you have, and then figure out a way to extract those out of your DNA, and then insert abundant self-beliefs that will help you rise to the occasion.
And then you'll find what you're looking for.
Yeah. And listen, there's not everybody wants to be a business owner. There's a lot of,
you're spot on.
Yeah. Sometimes it ain't fun. And quite often business owners are the last ones to eat.
Yeah.
Okay. When I met Todd Peterson, he lived in a rental house.
Yeah.
And he was driving a really old pickup truck. My house was way nicer than his, and my cars were way nicer than his. And I didn't have a salary, but my commission check, my annual earnings were way higher than his. But he was patient, and he owned the cap table, a big portion of it. So when we had the liquidity event, he was able to, harvest his hard work and his discipline to be able to wait for something better. So the guys are out there, and there's tons of guys that, that you can put in those positions, like an unlimited amount of guys.
So let's say I think we'd both agree the best ways to attract and build them from within and then send them out from what you currently have versus attracting outside. Correct?
That would be my advice, because I can, I can watch them, and I can help them, and I can tell who's who. Like most of the people that we sent out, they were from Utah, and now they're expats in their different states, and now they won't come back to Utah because now they're the Todd Peterson of those markets.
Wow,
they're loving life.
Now, do these guys test out and do a summer model or like blitzing or something like that?
Yeah, I mean, I was watching those guys for 5, 6, 10 years. Right. So I had that purview. You don't, you're a newer firm, I would guess. I don't know how long you've been around.
2.5 years. Yeah.
Yeah. You don't have that same luxury, if you will.
Right.
But you can tell. I want somebody that can recruit. I want somebody that can lead,
okay,
that can train.
Did you have specific metrics on those things, like recruit X? Like, give me some examples of what you'd put.
Yeah. So a few numbers. They had to produce at least 1,000 accounts the first year of deployment.
Okay.
And they had to do an X amount of accounts per square foot that I would lease for them.
Okay.
Little things like that.
Per square foot of office space.
Yes, because I'm paying per foot.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So if you can go recruit me 2,000 accounts, I'll get you 2,000 square foot office space.
Okay.
So forth and so on. I'm not going to give you 10,000 feet if you're going to only give me 1,000 accounts. But if you can get me 10,000 accounts, I'll give you 10,000 feet.
Okay. Sub question regarding PRA. I've loved per rep averages because they attract. It's like you trim the fat, right?
Sure.
Get rid of the C players. Did you have a metric of PRA that you guys push with leadership?
Oh, yeah.
And held them accountable to?
Yeah.
And then if they didn't, what was the metric from what you remember?
What was the average per rep average?
Or like, did you guys say like you have to hit this per rep average?
I mean,
or like
PRA,
here's a standard.
It was a standard, but more than anything, we're a lot of volume based.
Okay.
And then the PRA came into effect when we had fixed costs, such as our summer housing, licensing, things like that. But I would be willing to launch a team if they could produce 1,000 accounts for me within a year. that's enough volume where I'll get them housing. I wouldn't get them like a recruiting center
Yeah.
unless they were going to be static in that specific market. The other thing that I did too is I built these recruiting centers right next to campus. So I would vet the campus. And I wanted the campus to be in close proximity where kids, students could walk to the recruiting center,
Okay.
skateboard to the recruiting center, hitch a quick ride to the recruiting center. You don't want a recruiting center in a campus that's 10 minutes away.
Yeah.
Like I want that proximity. I want to make it easy. And then I wanted my people to own that campus. And then the other thing that we did too is we penetrated the fraternities and the sororities because it's already an established organization. So you can get in with the president. They're all looking for charity dollars so that they can move up the ranks, in college. So you say, hey, if I can do X amount of meetings, I'll contribute X amount of dollars for your charity of choice. And we just recruited lights out through all those fraternities. And then every year, guess what? There's a new cohort of frat brothers and sorority sisters that you can go present to. So it was just that cycle. And then we'd get on campus, we'd pay, the Career Services Center to let us be on campus. And we were just a static fixture right there on campus. I mean, at LSU, for the football, everybody had to walk in front of my building to get to the stadium. So we would do,
Nice.
Yeah, we would do
So proximity's
canopies. Yeah, we did all like barbecue, whatever, and everybody knew who we were.
I was just up at Rexburg recruiting with a guy up there, but it went well. And we had some different offices options, and there are some that are very close to campus, very, very close, that were it was pretty horrible office compared to some nicer places. And I thought this would probably be the best move, even if we had to put reno budget to get that proximity, within 2 minutes walking distance.
And, my advice to you is go get production going in California.
Yep.
Get revenue.
Okay.
Sales is a cure-all.
Yep.
And then over time, when you want to be in that specific market, then invest in a recruiting center. And that can be your correlation meeting center.
There you go.
It can be a multi-purpose building.
For me, in this phase, I think it could make sense either way. I haven't gone out there to go do it myself, but I'm at a point where I'm down to go do it. Just go take the bull by the horns, go blitz, go run the office out there and start pulling guys in and attracting and building that way. Is there a better way, or would you recommend doing that?
I think it's great.
Okay.
Again, I told you at the beginning, I'm not an absolutist.
Yeah.
But yeah, I tested it. Like I went to multiple markets. I was able to, find guys in those specific markets that would lead. I mean, we had a recruiting center in El Paso, Texas. You know what I mean?
Oh.
Weird. Sorry, El Paso, but different places that you would never consider.
Right. I love that, Jeff.
And that's how Vivint's grown. That's how Vivint has really flourished, because you can only do so much here in the Mecca, right?
Right.
And then every morning you wake up wondering, okay, are my guys meeting with company X, Y, or Z?
Yeah, exactly. So the end goal is
you're more insulated.
So your end goal is to you attract a lot of these guys, but then build them and send them out to these markets.
Well, I mean, I guessed wrong. I said Lehigh because I thought that's how you were taking me. But I'm not surprised that it's Ogden, because Ogden, now that guy, I don't know who it is, but that guy now has to be Nick.
Exactly.
He cares more.
Exactly.
So, if you're here, people are going to follow you because you're the alpha here. But if they're the alpha there, I mean, it's going to work for you.
Yeah. So I've realized this importance of kind of in a healthy way of segregation, like separation in delegation complete.
Another example.
Please.
Kids. So if I tell my 25-year-old, hey, you should go do this, or you need to do this, what's going to happen? They ain't going to do it.
Yeah.
But if people commit to whatever they create, right?
So co-create it.
Let them create it. Like you guide without them really knowing. The Declaration of Independence, 56 autographs. Why? So everybody was committed. It was their creation.
Mm.
If it was only one autograph, John Hancock, the most recognized autograph on there, it would have been a one-man band. And we probably wouldn't be free today, right?
Wild.
But all 56 put their autographs on the parchment, so they all owned it. Make sense?
Yeah, it does.
So have your people own it. That's your market. You own it, and you give them the tools.
Okay.
And then you can't micromanage, because micromanage is death. You create systems. You don't lead you don't
manage people.
You don't manage people. You lead people, and you manage the system.
Yeah, makes sense. What if you're going out to a new market? What 3 to 5 people are a must for solar to launch?
Like what roles?
Yeah.
For solar?
Mm-hmm.
let me make okay, are we talking sales? Are we talking the full?
Sales, yeah, just sales. So if
I
you're
mean,
launching as a dealer,
I would say one person.
okay,
Like I need my CEO out there. I mean, I need my tip of the spear. Again, it's somebody that is organized, that can follow systems, that's responsible, that I can give a budget to, that can actually run a P&L for me, that can recruit, that can train, that can scale, that can be
yeah,
my guy. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And again, a lot of people, your limiting self-belief might be like, well, if there's a guy out there that exists, why would they not just be the owner? Well, they don't want the liability.
correct,
They don't want the stress that you have to. Your
yeah,
stress is different than their stress,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Todd Peterson's stress was different than my stress.
yeah,
At the end of the day, it was his name on all the dotted lines, right? He had all the recourse. So if a loan goes bad, there's a bad boy clause in there. I can walk away. He's got to pay the bill. He's going to get sued,
right,
or I could get sued, but I'm encumbered. Like
yeah,
I'm fine. I'm indemnified. He's
yeah,
encumbered.
that makes sense.
So
What do you notice with what were some of, like, thinking back to Vivint's growth, Jeff, and then looking at some of the, when you guys did the expansion, I'm sure there were some failures and some massive successes. What were some of those distinguishing factors, whether it's leadership, systems, or markets?
I mean, markets, most of our markets, we did enough due diligence and enough research that we knew the campuses that we were entering. There were some campuses that were a little bit iffy because the tuition was so high, so they had mommy daddy money. So maybe those kids were not going to be blue collar enough to go knock doors. I'm not going to mention names, but you can probably imagine some of those universities.
Yeah.
And then, I think some I maybe opened too quick. I was very, very aggressive with the strategy. So maybe there's one or two offices that were a little bit premature, too close together, maybe.
Okay.
But besides that, it was a home run. But
Okay.
again, you got to be patient with the process. But it worked. And I always knew. And in fact, I knew that once I left, that it would be even better because you just have to. You got to let it grow. You got to let it. You got to do the sowing so you can reap.
Okay.
So it's not going to be instant.
Okay. So picking universities that has more blue collar feel.
And somebody that can become enamored with that university and can be a good fixture inside of that university.
Okay.
Somebody that can.
So a lot of the expansion was based on not on sales demographic, but on recruiting demographics.
Yeah, because again, those were recruiting centers for me. Sure, they'll do preseason, but in the summer, I was shipping assets to their summer market.
And would they sell in market or sometimes in market, sometimes out of market?
Yeah, listen. So we would run a GM program, which was a general manager program. Those are full-time guys. They don't have summer area. They're just Vegas. They live in Vegas. They sell in Vegas. They do everything in Vegas. And then there could be a summer team that gets deployed into Vegas on top of those guys too.
Got it.
The El Paso squad that I mentioned, that's a GM group. They just sell in El Paso, Texas.
Okay.
So, UTEP, that college, they're recruiting assets through there. But as the market matures too, they're also recruiting older human resources that just want a really good job. So you're going to get both, not just the college kids, but also the sales professionals that you can leverage with a year-round program.
Okay. So when I guess did you guys get to the point where they recruited so many where you would send some out of market to go to another?
All the time, because the way it worked for us is we would produce more in the compressed summer than we would on a year-round model. When time decreases intensity increases.
Oh, that's
so it's crazy. The summer guys would always produce more than the GM guys. The GM guys just want a different lifestyle. So you want to provide that product to both, because if not, I lose them. So I was just trying to cast a wider net. And some guys were like, Mendez, I can't do the summer model anymore. It's a strain on my family. I don't want to lose those guys.
So you do that.
I lost them to myself. I lost them to my GM program.
Interesting.
So I ran parallel programs.
So I've been so fixated on in market for.
By the way, that's explore and exploit.
Exactly. Yeah, that's spot on. So I've been pure on this like exploitive in market selling, and I'm now starting to step away from that. Obviously, blitzing California, and because of the consistency, the routines, the schedule, the stability it provides. But I studying your guys' success at Vivint, I've realized hey, that you guys were really hard on the summer model, and because of what you just mentioned, I didn't think that through. Like that's part of it, and it's the best season time to sell. Right? There's a lot of perks. Most kids are off of school, but then also
You have all the focus.
you have all the focus. And then I've had this in market, you have sales reps, producers, and you have managers and builders. Like any CEO wants to get your people to builders, recruit, sell, do everything. And most people have a hard time wearing all hats. Like I was able to do all the hats starting out, and I've tried to create a process for that. And, that's like, it's too much for most. And so, I'm realizing, okay, hey, let's just drive a summer model for the majority. Some people will stay in market and sell a little bit. And then I'm going to turn this into a recruiting season for everybody. So it's not just me and the company recruiting, you know?
Yeah.
And so that's a big pivot we're going to make. I'm excited about. So, okay. So you're expanding these markets based on recruiting, from the college campuses. And then every time you were doing this, were you taking another leader out there with you ideally, or sometimes were you just bootstrapping this yourself or what?
No, at that point when I was doing decentralization, I was always getting leaders to do it.
Okay.
I mean, I was in charge of thousands of reps at that point in time.
And so again, going back to this, if you didn't, I think I know how you're gonna answer, but if you didn't have the leaders to go out with, what would you do?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'll tell you, when I was running teams personally, I would do a lot of preseason to know where I wanted to pick for the summer. But I would go out and explore the market myself. And then in the preseason, I would hit up all the different cities. So I knew when I needed to do volume where I could put my human resources.
Nice.
So I pre-knocked everything, and I knew exactly where I could go get a whole bunch of accounts. I mean, my last year managing, my personal team did 10,000 accounts. So I needed to be able to place these guys in, markets where I could get that volume that I knew I could produce.
So you went out there and tested yourself.
Yeah. And
Love
then, some guys, wanted to go knock preseason outside of their market. I'm like, I'm going to go knock preseason in my market so I understand my market. I'm not worried about running out of hood.
Yeah.
I'd rather know, all the nuances of these neighborhoods I'm working in. And I want to get my licensing done now. And the best way to do licensing is in the preseason. Because in the summer, it's just go time.
Yeah.
Like, our summers were relentless. I don't think they allow guys to knock as late as we did, but we would knock till midnight.
Wow.
10:30 was like early.
Jeez.
I'm telling you.
That was just me at it.
But my guys had to be on their first door by 2 on a weekday, Monday through Friday.
Okay.
2 at the very latest. By the time you get dropped off, the whole nine. But, they were getting off the doors at 11:30 at night, every night. And then on Saturdays, you had to be on your first door at 9 a.m. And you couldn't get off the doors till 10:30.
How'd you guys instill that culture from accountability? Like if people didn't fall through on that?
Leadership.
What'd you do?
Again, it's systems. So you do incentives, you do pay scales, you do competitions, you do a sports center type thing where if you're a hard worker and high producer, you get recognized. If not, you're nowhere to be found. I did things on my team that starting in June, if you didn't produce at least 3 installs a week, you had to interview with me on Sunday.
Oh, nice.
I gave you a 1-week trial, and if you couldn't get 3 that following week, you had to pack up and go home.
So you helped through that. I love it.
Oh, yeah.
We're starting to do that whole line.
Again, it's cliche, but you're only as strong as your weakest link. I didn't want to have designated baglers.
Yeah.
I wanted to go through my numbers board and 2, 3, 4, 5, 8, whatever. If there was a bagel, it's like, oh my gosh. So I got rid of all those designated baglers. And then what would happen is people would hear about what we were doing, and I would get people from other companies to join my team midsummer. And I had space for them because I was getting rid of non-producers.
Smart.
And it's crazy, but these guys, when I would send them home, they would cry. I'm like, hey, this team is too elite for you to be. It's too much pressure, and you can't handle it. You've proven that to me.
Wow.
I said, now, but if I'm not training you the right way, you need to tell me right here, right now, and I'll up my game. But I feel like I'm training you the right way, so this is on you. I've done everything I can in my power.
Nice.
Like, I want you to be here, but I can't want it more than you. And you don't want to be here because you're not producing at least 3 accounts.
Love that.
So
yeah, it's a brilliant. We've seen the same phenomenon. I've identified exactly what an A player, B player, and C player is by volume for solar in my market, and I've decided to cut all C players.
Yep.
So defined by 2 deals a month or less.
Yep.
And we used to justify every time, like, oh, we keep this person. Now it's like hard line.
Yeah,
like they know the expectation. We cut. We pip them.
And for me, I've always had the law of abundance. I don't believe in. I believe scarcity is the world's biggest lie.
Yeah.
So for me, it's
someone will come.
It's just there's so many resources out there that it'll come. And when talking about it is one thing, but when you're about it, when you do it, it's another thing. And when people realize, oh, this guy is a doer, and he actually follows through, it's like, oh, I want to be a part of this.
I love that.
There's very few elite teams out there. Like, people want to be a part of a championship team, and we created a championship culture.
Talking about that culture, I actually have a specific question on this I want to hit. So, what was the real driver of Vivint's culture beyond what people saw?
What was the real driver of Vivint's culture beyond what people saw? Um,
Like, if you had to give like the real sauce behind the quote unquote iconic Kool-Aid that you guys had.
I mean, it's a simple answer. It was just real. It wasn't fabricated. It wasn't just hype. It was real.
When you say real, like you're talking about like showing the 1099s, like the real.
Not
like,
even that. I mean, money. It's a byproduct. We cared about winning. We cared about dominating. We cared about working hard. Like, it was cool to work your tail off. It wasn't cool to be like such a good sales guy that you only had to work 2 hours a day and you got accounts.
Yeah, nobody took pride in that.
You know, luckily there was a lot of farmers that joined Vivint in the early days. Potato farmer guys from Idaho. Todd Peterson's from Idaho Falls. So it's just that hard work culture. You know, me being from Puerto Rico, I'm not going to leave the island and come to Utah and not work my tail off. Like, if I'm going to chill out, I'm going to chill out on the beach. So for me, I loved hard work. I love bleeding it out. I love the knife fight.
Yeah.
I love just being exhausted. And that was the real culture. And, you know, when you have enough leaders doing that, like, it permeates. It's real. You know, we recruited hard too. Like, if I had, it was insane actually. If I would have a guy text me at midnight, hey, some of my guys are thinking about leaving, they're shopping, I'm like, get them to my house right now. I'd be meeting with guys at 1 a.m. Yeah. And you learn it from him. You know, my recruiting process, I was done like at 6 a.m. You know, we're meeting all night long. You know, it was dark, and then I'm walking out of his house and the sun's coming up. So just a lot of hard work. But we knew that there's times and seasons for everything, because look at us now. Like, now, if I don't want to work, I don't have to, because I paid the price to avoid the cost.
Yeah.
And you just have to realize that there's times and seasons for everything, and whatever you do, you got to be all in. Like, as simple as that might sound, but truly all in. Not just saying I'm all in, not just hype, not just the logo, not just the saying, but it's real. And I mean, When
it comes to guys saying, "Oh, I want to do a part-time job," or anything that could distract from all in, how would you handle those situations?
I mean, for me, I would just say, yeah, this isn't a fit for you.
Yeah, and it's abundant.
And it's crazy, man. Like, so many people, you know, I'd be on the phone, you know, because my guys would send me leads and they want me to close the recruits. And quite often I'd have guys on the other line being like, I can't tell if you want me or you don't want me. You know what I mean? But I did it by design, because again, I have no fear of loss.
Yeah.
Like, and I would tell people, this is a lot of work, and I don't know if
Jeff.
you can handle it.
Yeah.
Like, this is a freaking tough job, and that's what makes it beautiful. So if you can't work your tail off, if you can't be all in, don't even come to the meetings. Don't even come to the recruiting events.
So you guys started with a bunch of farmers.
Yeah.
So I need to go back to those potato fields, huh?
And guys like me that came from Puerto Rico, I guess. But just athletes that knew how to, you know, earn their keep, that had practice on top of practice on top of practice, and we're on the road playing game, you know, competing. But just, man, it's just really, really good guys. And I'm not saying that's the only way to do it, but that's just who we were. If I were to describe Vivint, we're blue collar guys, a bunch of ordinary guys that were willing to work really hard to accomplish extraordinary things.
How did you, I love that. How did you guys overcome the stigma of door-to-door? Like, because I mean,
we made it cool.
Yeah.
And I call it direct to home. I don't even call it door to door personally. But it's interesting. I can't name the name of this company, but there's a really big company, tech company, one of the biggest market caps in the world, had a secret meeting with us in Las Vegas, Nevada. And I walk into this penthouse, and all the executives are there from this company. And they're trying to integrate their product into our smart home suite, our offering. And you have all these really intelligent, high IQ individuals wanting to quiz me on our go-to-market strategy, direct to home. And you saw them with their notepads, just ready to take copious notes on my strategy, on the algorithm, whatever. And they're like, okay, Mendez, explain to us how you do this. And I'm like, yeah, we just go and, approach the door. I do my door approach, who I am, what I'm doing, what's in it for them, what's in it for me as a company, pull back, transition. They're like, wait, what? And then they ask again, well, how do you do it? Yeah, I just go up. And they're like, whoa, what do you mean you go up?
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, I go to the door. And they're like, well, what do you do at the door? I'm like, yeah, we knock on the door, ring the doorbell. Like, whoa, what? How do you do that? Like, they wanted me to explain.
So they're trying to extract it. Wow.
Because for them, it was just such a crazy thing that we knew how to do that for us was so commonplace.
Yeah.
So what I'm getting at is we just worked hard, figured it out, and then we made door knocking cool. Like, these people from this company were like shocked that we had the human skill set, if you will, to be able to do that. Because they're like, how do you talk to a stranger? How do you engage with them? How do you get them to trust you? How do you get them to respond back? And in fact, Nick, when I was running my teams, I had magazines come visit me. So corporate would use me all the time for PR. And I would take people on the doors with me. And they would write articles. And they're like, I had no idea it was this elegant. I had no idea it was this beautiful. I had no idea of what you guys offer and how good you are and how you present and how the install works and all these different things. So I think for us, it was just, we made it beautiful, we made it elegant, we made it cool, like, and corporate followed suit. Now, it wasn't always like that. When we did our acquisition with Blackstone, we had some Harvardites and Stanfordites that thought they were too cool for us, but they quickly learned. We took them on the doors and they got their teeth kicked in and they started respecting what we did. And then I think, you can tell that we're educated, like we understand business, and we took a lot of pride in that. So it wasn't just mere door knockers. Like, we understand a P&L, we understand a balance sheet, we understand statements of cash flow, we understand, net margins, we understand a CAC, we understand all those principles, and we have all this information. So when we're going to market, we're ready to do business, and the right business too. And then the cool thing is we had residual. So if we onboarded a proper account, we would get paid into perpetuity.
Nice.
So we wanted good, clean business.
That's huge. So talking to a new rep or an experienced guy that's saying, hey, Jeff, door knocking's not for me, but he's got the skill set. He really wants to work there. Culturally, you can see him aligning. Maybe another guy wants him on the team. What do you say to those guys?
Yeah, if it's not for you, it's not for you.
Yeah, you just say we're good.
Yeah, you're good. And then what happens there?
It's that pullback. You lean out, they lean in.
Yeah, they lean in. That pullback works wonders. Now they're like, whoa.
Yeah.
Like, I thought this was going to work. So you just reverse psychology. But it's true. Like, if you join, great. If you don't join, I don't care.
We're good. Yeah.
Because just like a door, like, I got a door here, I got a door there.
There's plenty, bro. I don't need you. Yeah.
It's like, you need me more than I need you type of mentality. I'm going to be elegant with it, but I'm not going to beg you to work. It's hard enough. Like, and I tell them, if I have to beg you to join here, we're dead. It's not going to work. You have to be enthused to be a part of this thing, because the first time you get told to F off on the door, you're going to quit. And if you have high quit in you, and if you don't think this is for you, then you shouldn't join. Now, if you want to go do a preseason trip and go test it out, then go for it. But I can't invest in you unless you're willing to invest in yourself. But you got to go on one of these trips.
Love that,
then
Jeff.
We'll talk. And and even with my teams, I said 80-20 rule, guys. Pareto principle, I believe in it.
Yeah, same.
So don't get offended if I'm not spending too much time with you. I have car group leaders
100%.
and other assistant managers that will help you. I need to spend time with the upper echelon. Because those guys quite often get ignored. Are you guys cool with that? And they're all cool with it. I said, you guys have me in correlation meetings. You guys have me, on one-on-ones, but I can't be knocking with you guys training how to do this thing. I can't. I need to be with my top guys so they can then take you guys and help you guys out. And the other thing I did, in my opinion, really well is I was always building teams. So let's say that this is the year 2026.
Yeah.
I'm already building 2028, 2029.
How so?
I'm already identifying who the leaders are. I'm already trying to help them build their recruits.
Even if they're from a new rep or something.
100%.
Okay, let's talk about. We talked about that DNA a little bit.
Yeah. So
what are the defining factors? Do you have numbers, metrics they hit?
Well, let me unpack this one for you. So let's say I have my assistant managers, my co-managers, whatever. They're already on a trajectory. But who's next? My car group leaders. It was them driving the car, and then 3 guys that they would have to drop off, pick up, hand out area 2, text if they had a question. I would grab a huge team. I had 100+ guys, and I would make a lot of mini teams. And then I would tell that car group leader that didn't have the title of assistant manager, co-manager, sales manager, et cetera. I said, do you want to run a team one day and make override and have, and have like a really good trajectory here at Vim? Oh yeah. Well, the best time to recruit is now. Now you have to wear that sales manager hat. These 3 guys that I put in your car group, they can be your guys if you're on their business. Those are my recruits, but I'll give them to you if you can earn their business. How do you earn their business? You answer all their questions. You lead from the front. You make sure they're taken care of. And then when they have a choice of which team they want to go on, if they mention your name, they're yours. They're like, really? Yeah. And then you can start stacking on that. I want you to text all your friends back home. I want you to, post wherever you need to post and let people know that you're in business so you can start building your team now. Next year, I want you to have 10 people. And then the following year, I want you to have 20 and you can start running your own team.
And then you talk to them, let's say they don't execute. How do you come back to that person?
They're going to execute.
They're going to execute?
Yeah.
What do you think the difference is then on how you deliver
They
that?
want it. It's desire, right? And then I give them a framework. I have a system for them where they can be successful, and I'm helping them. I said, leverage me. My system's doing all the licensing. I'm doing all the training. I'm doing all the heavy lifting. Leverage me. Build your team now and learn everything. And then ask yourself, what should I do here? What should I do there? And then, do it now under my umbrella. Make the mistakes now so that
because one day I won't be.
I'm not going to be here.
Yeah, that's
so. I and all my guys were like, it was crazy. Everybody was bought in
because it creates urgency.
And now it's their team. Like So let me give you another example. So my correlation meetings were daily, Monday through Friday at 11 a.m. We ran them till noon. I never ended past noon, not even a minute late. Because I said, if I'm going to start on time, I'm going to end on time. I'm not going to take y'all's time and I'll explain how it all works. So anyway, I would walk into my correlation meeting was held in an apartment right there in the complex. We were all living in the same complex type of thing.
Okay.
And then when I would walk in, everybody had to be in full uniform, lanyards on, ready to go, like Minutemen type thing. And everybody was sitting down. I would always walk in 2 minutes before 11. I wanted to be the last one in. All the cell phones were in a cell phone box. The music was playing. The videos were downloaded. The numbers board guy was already at the numbers board. Everything was ready to go. It was like an orchestra. And I would just go. I would sit down. Meeting starts. They're going for like 10, 15 minutes doing their thing. Everybody has their little thing that they do. He goes, Mendez, you're up. I always ran the training because I felt like I was the best trainer for my guys. Role play, train on mentality.
Yes. How
to use the mentality with the role play. I would stop guys and say, I don't believe you. I don't believe that you have conviction to sell this thing right now. They'd be like, well, Mendez is a role play. I'm exactly. Like, if you can't get this figured out here, you're not going to figure it out there.
Yeah.
And I always told my guys, I'm going to be that coach that you hate during practice, but you love after the game because we're going to get the results we want to get. We're going to be champions here. And then I would be done with the training. I sit down, and then the video guy does his thing. The cup guy does his thing. The numbers board guy gets back up. The cheer guy gets up. The guy that's in charge of making sure everybody's putting their chairs away, make sure their chairs are away. The guy handing out paperwork, make sure everybody's loaded up with paperwork for the day. The car group leaders already know, they're telling their guys at what time they're meeting and when they're going. They have their maps. Everything is done. So my job was really easy. I was just in the highest and best use of my time, which was training. And everything else was just handled by the team. If anybody was ever late, I never had to say anything. Team members would be like, hey, you're late, sit on the wall, 2 minutes. You were 2 minutes late. I'm watching you. Go. Hey, why is your phone not in the box? I never said anything. None of that stuff. Because I gave the team to the team. Make sense?
Yeah.
Where leaders miss out is when they're trying to do everything.
Everything themselves, yeah.
Where it's a dictatorship.
Yeah.
You don't like to be told what to do. Why would your people like to be told what to do?
Yeah.
So that was a system that we created by design. And it wasn't like all on paper, like an algorithm.
Right.
It just morphed into that, and it had its own life. And that's how you build it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's huge.
Like, even you can walk into my real estate office right now, you'll feel it. Like, I probably won't go there today. I don't need to go there today because everybody's in the highest and best use of their time.
Yeah.
I stay in my lane. Everybody's in their lane, and I respect their lanes. Obviously, I know what's going on. I have all the accountability, but that's how you build elite teams.
That's awesome. We've done that pretty well in Utah now, but I love that, Jeff. That's huge. The 2 minute wall sit, like the wall sit, like per minute they're late, they wall sit.
Yeah. I didn't want to, some teams
push-ups,
put money. You do, whatever.
I like the wall sitting
strategy. But and all of a sudden people don't want to be late because it's embarrassing.
Yeah.
And then the other thing that we instituted was bagel meetings. So if today being Tuesday, if you bageled Monday, you had to show up to mandatory 30-minute bagel training to not bagel
Prior.
And I had an instructor for nobody bageled on Saturdays. Like if you bagel on a Saturday, you might as well pack up and go home. Don't even show up to the office. There was a bagel meeting Tuesday if you bageled Monday, Wednesday, so forth and so on. But if the instructor from Tuesday bageled on Monday, they can't instruct. You can't instruct anybody sitting on a bagel. So they would have to have a substitute. But guess what? They didn't bagel because they wanted to do the training. And even my numbers board guy, you can't run my numbers board if you're sitting on a bagel. So my numbers board guy was the same numbers board guy for like 3 years. I think he bageled once in 3 years.
Wow.
Yeah. My cheer guy, you ain't running no cheer if you bagel. You can't motivate anybody.
Yeah.
So I had all these little tiny things in place to make sure that people were producing. And when you expect that out of your people, they rise to the occasion. I expected people not to bagel. I expected people to produce on a daily. I expected them to crush. I expected a lot of our guys to sell over 300. And for my mid-tier guys to sell over 100.
Wow.
And it happened because I believed in people. And if I believe in them, they start believing in themselves.
Very real.
You know what I mean?
It's very real.
Yeah.
What are some other strategies on the like these systems that you had? What other systems did you have maybe on the recruiting side? Like, did you have a system for, first meeting, second?
With the heart. I never talked about money when I'm recruiting. If I'm sitting down with you, I'm like, Nick, can we agree that the money's going to be there if you work your tail off? The pay scale's the pay scale.
Yeah.
So why do you want to do this job? Just a lot of question-based selling.
Yeah.
Like, why do you want to do this? What would make you a really good asset to the team that have already established? And then you almost want them to like
sell themselves
and join the team.
Yeah.
And then I'm just real with them. And then I said, hey, I'll be there 100% of the way. This ain't going to be easy, but it's going to be worth it. So if you're willing to work your tail off, if you're willing to do the knife fight, if you're willing to do this for 5+ years, because I don't want a one and done, that's not me. I'm not going to invest in you if you're only here with me 1 year. But if you want to do this for the long haul, let's go.
So you get them commitment on the
100%.
long term. That's different. That's amazing.
But verbally
say, hey, I want this.
It's like, why would you do this if you're not going to do this for the long run?
That's amazing. That's
like
gold, Jeff.
Year one, you're just learning.
Yeah.
You don't really start compounding till years 2, 3, 4, and 5. So year 1 is in vain if you don't come back year 2. And I would explain that out the gate. That way they're more patient with the process and they know that they're going to be expected to re-sign.
Did you have like a meeting 1, getting to know them, what they want, like, and then meeting 2 was something else?
Yeah, all the time. And I'm not like, I don't like one-on-ones. I like coaching by CBWA, coaching by walking around. I like organic. I'll be in my car. I'll start calling, hey, how you feeling? How you doing? What's up? What's going on?
Nice.
That way it's not so rehearsed and weird and awkward.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, that's interesting.
I mean, you saw me presenting. I had slides at Gage's event. I ended up using 25% of the slides.
I like that.
But I was going to say something else regarding that. But yeah, it's got to be, the other thing that I did that worked really well for me is I had area assigned to me one time in the summer.
Okay.
After that, I didn't have area assigned to me. I would only re-knock behind my guys. That way they could never blame me for poaching hood. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to be close to the office just in case anything happened. I wanted to get in my car quick or be in my area quick. I wanted to be able to get home quick. I didn't want to be in the freaking boonies like an hour away. I want to be 5-10 minutes away knocking. And if you guys were done with that stuff, give it to me. I don't care if it's been knocked 20 times. I'll go get deals on that stuff.
Yeah.
And you can never claim that I'm getting the best hood because I'm just re-knocking behind you. Like 2 days after you knocked it, I'm going to re-knock you. And guys respected that. But this is why I did it, is if I was home like at 10:30, 11 o'clock, I could be in the parking lot when my guys were arriving.
Nice.
And then I would put my arm around them. I'd high five them. I'd be like, hey, I noticed you ran 2 credits. You didn't close any. Talk to me. What's going on? Like, how can I help you? And then I would get ready mentally for the following day for correlation because I knew real time what my guys were doing. What's going on? Plus, if I would see them in the parking lot, I'd high five them, help them get their energy up so they wouldn't go to bed all frustrated.
So nobody does this.
That last touch.
How do you do that in modern day when people don't go back to an office to put up their numbers?
So they do that still with the summer program.
Wow.
I don't know. I don't know how I would do it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd call them. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'd figure it out. But what's crazy is I could see that they're kind of like, yeah, I just couldn't figure that. Come to the office, let's do some role plays really quick. And I would be till 1 a.m.
Yeah.
with my guys. And then one secret sauce for me too is my lead technician, like my operations guy, was really my co-manager. Like not by title, but by design. Because if we were like this, we could get it all done. And then I wanted to render service to him. He wanted to render service to me. So I told all my guys, if you guys freaking give me a deal that ain't closed and my freaking technicians have to close it for you guys, I'm going to put the sale in their damn name.
Absolutely.
So, and the technicians they loved it because they're like, wow, these accounts are so solid. These installs are so good. And I said, if there's any little nuances, like let's say that the husband was all about it and the wife wasn't, just say, Jerry's the one you probably want to talk to the most. The wife wasn't having it so much, so just beware. Or the motion sensor was really key, and I told him to put it in the living room. Don't switch it out because then the deal's not going to have that same oomph to it.
So you had great
tons
amazing
of
feedback loop.
Great feedback.
Yeah, the feedback loop was very tight.
I would talk up the techs, and then I would meet with them. I was done with my correlation meeting, and then I would go into their correlation meeting and train them on sales, on mentality, on how my guys operate so they knew. And then I would have my lead tech come into my meeting and train on how installs worked, and allowed my guys to ask questions on the equipment and everything else so they were well trained. Make sense?
Yeah.
So it was like this. And then I would get with my lead tech and I would be like, this car group's going to do X today. This car group's going to do X. That way he knew what kind of firepower to assign to each area. Just perfect communication. Like I think I had the same tech for 2 years. I think I had one rip out in 2 years.
Wild. So in this lead from the front manager, I can tell you're proud of that. I know you guys have didn't you have your managers do like 30 accounts, so your regionals do 30 accounts a year or something like that to kind of maintain
so
that?
The sales managers need to do tons of accounts, like 200, 300, whatever. I was doing 300 personal. And then the regionals had a certain number of accounts that they had to do.
Okay, how do you feel? Because I believe in the principle, and I've been pushing this in my company. My guys are all with it now. In solar, it's there's a lot of justification to get away from that because the closer setter model.
Sure.
And a lot of your leaders end up becoming the top closers, right? And the guys that run the office. And so that they eventually get so bogged down with appointments if they have good leadership that they're not knocking doors. And so we've embraced that, but said, hey, just when you can get any opportunity of no-shows, go out and shadow.
Sure.
And so what would you suggest in the solar model for that to leverage a lead from the front on a closer setter model when the top closers end up becoming so bogged down with appointments and they don't have time to go knock, right?
Yeah. So your question is, what would I do to make sure that my guys are still hungry and they're knocking doors and not just waiting for sales?
Yeah, if they're making $500,000 plus a year, and teams knocking doors for them.
I would create incentives, competitions, do whatever. So when I was working at a different company, so before Vivint, I was working selling satellite, and we did Burns weeks, where we basically the premise was we go there, the hood's going to get burned up because I'm not leaving anything behind, type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And, I was in the corporate office. I was a C-suite guy. But then I would go out in the preseason, to go rip accounts. And then in Burns Week, I would do like 70 accounts, 80 accounts, just something stupid. Wherein guys are doing maybe 20, 30. To just show everybody, who's the guy doing the training knows what's going on. So
yeah.
we had little things like that to keep us fresh. So maybe you do something like that.
So what was the incentive for you other than like winning the respect? Outside of winning the respect,
it was talked about. It was like, if you don't show up, you're a pansy.
Okay, so everybody was in the Burn Week.
The CEO, the VPs,
everybody was there.
Everybody was on the doors.
And it was Burn Week. It was a week.
Called it Burns Weeks. Burns Week. It was only a week.
Okay, so it's just 1 week.
Just 1 week, but I'm just saying that's one thing you can come up with.
Oh, it's brilliant.
So
that's great.
That's probably what I would do, something like that. And 80 accounts. It's like, holy cow, that's a ton of accounts.
I love that.
So,
okay, on an accountability, like what were some of the non-negotiables for leaders, metrics or behaviors?
That's a really vague question.
It is. Sorry, I'm changing gears here. I'm going on the accountability. My end goal here is like holding people, especially leadership, accountable to certain things. Like in our company, we have, hey, you guys have to hit over 2.5 PRA. We have to, knock X amount of doors.
Yeah. So
growth.
Okay. So let me just answer the way that I think would be
sure.
helpful for you. No two companies are the same. No two cultures are the same. So if I felt that something was necessary, meaning I wasn't getting a certain action or behavior from the group, then I would set KPIs for that. Okay.
Okay.
So all systems are perfectly designed to get the results you want to get. So for instance, Burns Week. That was a KPI. I wanted to make sure that all my senior staff was on the doors, and we would show the troops that we're in charge of that we're not just talk. We actually know what we're doing. That was a KPI that we had in there. We're talking about Burns Week all year long. So if my PRA is important, I'm going to base it on PRA. If it's based on sell to install ratio, I'm going to really focus on that KPI. So there's no one unilateral answer I can give you. It's just understand your numbers, understand your optics, and then create systems and transparency and front-facing numbers that can get you to the behavior that you want to get. And it'll change over time too.
Yeah.
Like after a while, per rep average may not matter as much.
Right.
After a while.
No,
I don't know. So I don't want to talk about it anymore.
Right. I agree.
I mean, I remember back in the early days, we would track hours. It's like, right, how many hours and I'm like, who cares?
Yeah. Production.
Like, get rid of that. That's just minutia. I want results.
Yeah.
And then, some guys, would put sales up on the board. I'm like, then it get installed. Don't put that there. I don't want it. Like it's Fugazi. So you just have to know exactly what you're tracking and why. Don't just track to track.
To track, yeah.
But you want certain behavioral economics to be obtained through the KPIs that you're managing. And that should change over time as you mature as a business.
Makes sense.
Or as nuances hit you.
Yeah. That makes sense, Jeff. This has been amazing. Most of my questions are answered here. I could keep you, if it was up to me, I'd go eat lunch and lock you down for another 2 hours. So we don't want to do what I want to do. But thank you for everything. This has been amazing. I'm going to go back and probably listen to this about 5 times over and take notes. So I appreciate you, your time, your energy. How can people follow you on social media? What's the handle on Instagram?
I think it's Jeffrey Mendez Poppy there's an underscore there somewhere.
Okay. Love it.
Yeah. Instagram.
And then your podcast. I'm about the podcast.
So it's called Live Life by Design.
Mm-hmm.
So I believe in that wholeheartedly, where you live your life by design, not by default. So you're the architect of your own life. The sooner you can figure that out, the more fulfilled of a life you will have.
Yeah.
And some people are actively working as somebody else's passive income, and they don't even realize it.
Mm.
I mean, I'll challenge you and others listening, watching, look around today, tomorrow, whenever you're out again, and see how many people are really asleep at the wheel.
Yeah.
It's mind-boggling.
It is.
And how many people are just subscribed to the quote-unquote rat race. What does the rat race need? More rats. So just living life by design, it's a refusal to be status quo and just be another cog in the wheel or another rat on the wheel.
I love that. That's awesome. Thank you again for everything.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Of course.